Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tiki Bar. I am delighted to be joined by Dan Leva. He is the Senior Vice President of Revenue Operations at Cielo Talent, and he's joining us today from New Jersey, I believe. Is that right?
From New Jersey.
And how is a summer Friday in New Jersey?
Rainy today, and we'll be rainy tomorrow, but Sunday's looking beautiful and I'll be down the shore. So
There you go. That's all you can ask for. Well, we really appreciate you doing this. We always ask everyone who comes into the Tiki Bar the same first question. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I think I wanted to be something on television or the movies. I don't know if that was an actor or a performer or somebody on Broadway. Was very fortunate growing up that I was introduced to theater early in my life and would spend time with my family and watching old movies and all the old Bye Bye Birdies, Wizard of Oz, that type of film. And did theater throughout my entire middle school, high school career. And I don't know, it was just always something that was there, but I never took the next step other than just, trying out for the school play type.
Well, that's very cool. Do you have a most memorable theater experience that you participated in growing up?
I think the number one was probably, and if I was to put myself in my mother's shoes, she loved. We did the Wizard of Oz my junior year of high school, and I was the lion, so that was fun. And yeah, it's a classic, and just the makeup and to make me look like a lion. So
I'm sure there's some good pictures floating around.
yeah, there is.
All right. Now, can you tell me about the first time that you ever got paid to work? First job that you ever had. Could be odd jobs from growing up or any time that you got paid to work that you remember.
Yeah, so I was a paper boy growing up, in somewhat of a crazy scenario because what is a paper boys do not exist in the same way that they did, back when I was growing up. What is a paper? My son might ask me, but yeah, I used to. Papers would get delivered to the bottom of my driveway on 2 days a week. I would wrap them up and get on my bike and ride around to my neighborhood. And what differentiated our paper was that we used to put it on your doorstep versus just the bottom of your driveway. So I used to ride up people's driveway and basically up their walkway to get to the front door, throw the paper, and turn around. And I'll have to give a shout out to both my parents who were very involved with that because when it got winter and it got cold, they would be driving and I would be running, and the papers would be in the trunk of the car type situation. So
Interesting. Okay, so you're really young when you're doing this. You can't drive yet. So are you dealing with any of the customer management that comes with that, or any memories that you have from those early days?
yeah, we used to have. Well, first off, I did all the billing. So once a month, I would have to put an envelope out into the actual newspaper with some sort of like, you owe me this. And they would put cash back in it and potentially a tip. And I would have to collect it all and I would have to turn it back around and give some of the money like once a month back to, I'd drive to this other woman's house who kind of managed all the paper boys in the neighborhood. And so she would take her, I don't know the situation above her. But yeah, so I managed billing, but they used to have prizes for people to get people to sign up. So you would probably like once every 3 months or so, they would do some sort of promotion to get the paper boys to sign up other people. So they might give you free newspapers to put on somebody's deck, or they might ask you to go door to door. And I've got two great memories of doing that. I won twice of like either sign-ups or maybe it was like a raffle type situation. One time I won a TV and it was box TV, but it had a VCR insert. And my mother still has that to this day. My parents still have that same TV. And then another time I won a limo ride with my friends for 2 hours and like $100 spending. So we drove around. This was middle school. We drove around. We were probably in 7th grade. They picked us up from the middle school. We jumped into the limo and then we drove to Burger King and spent $100 and then we drove back. And that was the extent of this limo ride. But as a 7th grader, it was like amazing.
Yeah, that's the tip top of life. Okay, so I want to ask you about the door to door piece of that because I've had now like 3 or 4 former paper boys and paper girls on the show. One of which was Henry Schuck, the CEO of Zoom Info, and he was talking about this. Like he actually would go and basically door to door pitching these newspapers. Did you have any apprehension about doing that, or were you so young it was oblivious to? Or
I think it was just like fun. Like, I mean, granted, my neighborhood was generally speaking people that knew of me. Um, and so it was never something I felt uncomfortable with. And getting back to the earlier point, I was fine in being in front of a crowd in certain situations, but I found it exhilarating. I found it fun just talking to new people and getting out there. And, if people didn't pay, you'd have to go knock on their door like midway through the week and be like, hey, you owe me $7 for the past 3 months because that's what it costs. Now, $7 is probably the cost of a newspaper. I get the New York Times, but yeah, probably once a week I get the $7.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know that particular feeling of going door to door didn't bother me in any situation.
Okay, so you're an active kid. You're theater. You're out riding your bike. So what kind of student are you? How would you characterize yourself as it comes to the actual academic life of middle school, high school? Did you have a particular aptitude?
Yeah, always gravitated towards math. I was always outgoing. I was one of the first kids raising a hand in class. Definitely shied away from anything of written word. English was definitely not my favorite subject. Math and science and even history definitely were. But yeah, I was always outgoing and always, definitely in your face and willing to make a mark on my high school career.
How did you decide where to go to college?
So I was very fortunate having, parents that supported me and helped me with making college decisions. Applied to 12 different schools. It was kind of this like, hey, let's shoot for the stars. Applied to and two Ivies even and some other things. Didn't get in. I think I got into 4 of the 12. So I applied to a lot of different schools and just to see what would happen. And for different things, I applied to even go to I put some of the acting stuff into a catalog and saw where that would go. But I was really gravitating towards more the math business situation. So I got into the Boston College and then also the College of New Jersey and, spoke about it. And there was a clear difference in financial expectations of going to each one of those schools. So I ended up choosing the College of New Jersey and it was one of my best decisions. It was a great education, met all of some great friends and current really close, family even.
So when you walk on to the first few days of school, you mentioned you're interested in math and in business generally. Do you know what you have an idea of what your career would look like at all, or what are you thinking about at that point in time?
No way. I was an undecided business major, figuring it out. Just jumped on to college, met a great group of friends, and just kind of let it take me from there. After a while, I started feeling, okay, finance was a little bit closer, but I got gravitated towards the math thing, which is where I decided to become a double major in statistics as well. And so that was a great opportunity because I kind of got the business acumen, but also the statistical background. And so I was doing that, and I was working as a lifeguard over the summer. But then, so that's what I did all through my high school years was I was a lifeguard. And then as I was looking into my junior year, a colleague of mine, or a graduate friend of mine, said, hey, I work at this pension actuarial firm. They're always looking for actuarial interns that have a statistics background. You should apply. And I applied and took that internship. And that was definitely the beginning of my career right there.
So take me through that internship. Then I always think it's just interesting because everyone has this personal experience, right? You're in college, you think you kind of know, and then you actually have to put on a dress shirt and show up at work. What do you remember most about the earliest days of that internship?
Yeah, I remember just it had such a community feel. I mean, these were the days of people going into an office 5 days a week, one, and then two, they had a great program where they had a bunch of interns. The interns would get hired on as full times, and then you would kind of grow. So our intern coordinator was an intern 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever she had been, graduated. So it was really a great experience of learning because I was in an environment that I was not accustomed to, putting on a shirt and tie and going to work. But two, I was learning in a very safe place. it's very difficult, I think, today more than ever, if you're coming out of college, just with the remote work aspect. A lot of these individuals are starting their careers at home. And now I'm full time remote. However, I don't know if I could have started my career and learned as quickly as I did without having someone, a cubicle next to me, going, I don't know what the hell I'm doing right now. Like, can you help me? Can you walk over here and like lean over my shoulder? So that was just such a safe space. And that's where I really learned how to use Excel to the max, I would say, and how to look at data in a different way. We were a pension actuarial firm, so I was looking at, data on companies' retiree rates and whatnot. And it was such an interesting experience and a lot of fun.
So getting into the actual data work, the actual statistical analysis, that stuff like appealed to you right away.
Yes. And that was all through like, wow, Excel could do this. And they had another tool called ProVal that was their pension actuarial evaluation tool that they used, and just like how they manipulated data, how you got large data sets to make sense, and how to summarize it for an executive audience. That's definitely where that skill set came into.
Okay, so you start getting your feet under you. It sounds like the role, kind of makes sense is a fit for your personality. So now you get your legs under you. You're probably developing some confidence. How do you start thinking about what's next for you at either that company or how you want to progress?
Yeah, so that was junior year, and so I was going into that was the end of the junior year, and I was going into senior year, and was very fortunate. They said, we'd love to have you back, and they had an opening in their junior client management role. And it was the exciting like pivot that I felt like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. Like I can be in a sales-ish role working on their top clients and get the experience that I've just kind of utilized of understanding the business, understanding what goes on in the background, actually doing the work, and then being able to help support that in a growth mindset. That was kind of really exciting for me. And honestly, just any job was really exciting for me at that point, right? You're coming out of college and you find out, there's somebody that wants you, and I can enjoy my senior year in a little bit of a different way. I was super excited.
So you get into this initial role is a sales role, right? It's a customer facing kind of role.
It was customer facing esque. I was the junior sales manager, so I would support 3 other client managers, and they were client facing, and then they would bring me on and I would be client facing in virtual ways as well, but I wasn't the main point of contact for those.
Okay, because I also started in like a similar kind of sales kind of trainee position.
Yeah.
And when I started, I was making cold calls, and I just remember the world of sales, like just it shocked me a little bit. It's pretty intense. You had some experience from your door to door days. I'm curious, did once you get into the world of sales, a little more on like the revenue side of the business, did it smack you in the face at all, or were you comfortable with it?
No, I was not comfortable. I think I was a little bit, what do you call it, hesitant. I was a little bit just naive around the opportunity that was in front of me. I as much as I was definitely behind the scenes in, doing the internship. Totally. Why would they put an intern in front of a client, right? And now I was like semi in front of a client, and it was an opportunity because I'll never forget this story, but one of the individuals that I was supporting, if she's watching, I won't name drop her, but I'll probably mention, maybe I'll reach out to her. She asked me to join the call, was like, hey, you need to take notes. And I remember I go, okay, I'll take notes. So I'm there writing notes, or I'm typing them on the computer. I don't know, but I retyped them up and I printed them out and I gave them back to her. And it was just legitimately, I typed them word for word of what I wrote down. No summary, no next steps, no nothing. And she pulled me back into her office and was like, hey, if I ask you to take notes, I don't want your chickens. I can do that. Like, I want your summary. I want full sentences. I want what was going on in the beginning and the end of this. Like, it's not so much around what you say. It's about how you present the information back to your manager or whoever. And I took that as such like a learning moment. And it was a learning moment. She wasn't coming. She was helping with me with my career. She wasn't taking it as a negative. She's like, hey, do this again. Like, put the context, put the work into it. And I guess that was like also a clear memory and like a clear clicking point in my head of, hey, there's a way to present information to make it valuable to the reader. And you need to figure that out every single time that you share back information with somebody.
Absolutely. She was calling you out for slop early on. Good for you.
Basically, and just like, here's my notes. Like, what is this? Don't do this. So yeah, it was very interesting.
All right. So you're obviously good at the job. You progressed. I'm looking at your LinkedIn. Stayed at the company for multiple years. You eventually make your way into, it looks like, kind of sales performance and the more operational side of the business. Can you tell me about that transition?
Yeah. So again, I was supporting on the junior client management side, and then sales leadership kept on asking questions. How do I get information out of Salesforce? What are we winning? What are we losing? What's that data look like? And just by sitting in those conversations and me knowing how to utilize data and to summarize data, because of the actuarial internship that I had done the year prior, I found myself getting pulled out of the client facing aspects and getting pulled into sales operations, and then full time got pulled into sales operations. It was kind of, they kept asking questions, and I kept being the only individual that knew how to run data out of Salesforce, highlight what was working, what was not. And that's how I found myself in this. It was kind of like the joining of the two roles of, I'd gotten the data and actuarial experience, I had gotten the experience being client facing, and this was kind of the merging of the two.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is there a moment where, okay, because you're kind of being pulled into this because it sounds like some natural talents. Is there a moment where you go, I'm now intentionally going to continue down this path, whether it's at this job or you obviously continue your career in now revenue operations, where you say this operational function, this is me. I'm gonna kind of charge at this.
Yeah, I think I was working with leadership. I was giving the data to leadership that they needed to take action, and I had a seat at the table. And I think that that's kind of what clicked in my head of going, hey, I found a niche for myself of, I'm adding value, I'm doing something that I enjoy. And as much as this other sales career and being part of the client management experience would have been, a great opportunity, that role didn't have the voice, the ear of leadership that this role did. And so I really enjoyed that time and made some great connections with leaders that have benefited me throughout my entire career of, taking the experience of just how to manipulate data, how to share that information back, how to create plans of action after whatever, comes out of it. That's what I found exhilarating.
Okay. So the technical side appeals to you, the business side appeals to you. It sounds like the next step in your journey that I want to talk about is your trajectory into when you become leadership. What do you remember most about your first time managing people?
Yeah. I remember it being difficult of just, wait, I'm such a individual performer. I know how to do this work. And what I found difficult was taking the time to say the ROI is in the future of this work. You as a leader need to be putting in the time and effort into your team. And it might take longer than the immediate instance of, you need to get this work done, right? And this work needs to get done right now. And I used to remember I can run this report in 2 hours, or I can run this analysis. I don't need to do that. But I'm going to be doing that 2 hours every month. And over time, that's going to be, the 24 hours. Instead, I can spend 10 hours and I can get back those 14, right? And I think that was an interesting few months of the first time that I was leading a team, running the analytics sales operations function at an organization, of just taking that next step and going, me as an individual, and I know that as leaders, it's not because you can't do something that you don't do it. It's because there's a more value. And honestly, I enjoy leading and working with my team, now having done this for 10 plus years. So it's a lot different. There's just a value there that originally you don't see.
What do you think has changed the most about your style now that you've been doing it for 10 years? You're obviously shocked at the beginning about this, kind of transition away from getting your hands dirty on every problem. But now that it's been 10 years, what do you think has been kind of the biggest change from you in those early days?
Realizing there's people behind the jobs, and every single individual is different. We are all different. Me and you, Kevin, are obviously, a lot different, a lot similar in many ways. But at the same point, getting the best out of any individual is different. And when you look at the roles that people have, you can't just take them by the title. You need to figure out how to work with that individual. And I think that was a learning curve. Like I was like, hey, if you're a sales leader at any organization, this is what you must do. That's not true. People find their path in many different ways and many different experiences. And so you need to meet them where you are. And I think another thing is just like you need to figure out the hills that you're willing to die on and not. Because not everything's perfect in any organization, in any situation, right? And if you're expecting that, I think that sometimes you don't realize that, coming out of college, you assume that everything's got to be perfect to this organization or whatever organization. That's not true. Everyone's striving for perfection every day at every organization, but that doesn't mean that we're all achieving it. And so you need to figure out the hills that you're willing to die on, the areas that you want to take on, and how you're going to utilize your time. You can't tackle every single problem that there is all the time. You'll never enjoy the job that you have in front of you, nor will you get the best out of the people around.
How would you characterize the evolution of the actual function? I mean, you've been doing more as your career has progressed, obviously, but at its core, you're in kind of sales and revenue operations, and have now been in that world for some time. Obviously, technology changing under you. Like, how do you think about what's different about the actual job at its core from when you got into it?
Yeah, I think the job at its core is so much more technical. I think that just the way that obviously AI in any role is growing, the things that people are able to accomplish with AI. I mean, if I had Copilot or if I had Claude 10 years ago, I mean, we'd all be CEOs of some company, right? Like it would be this amazing golden goose that we would be sitting on. Just the fact that I can, hey, give me the market analysis of this. That didn't used to be so simple to get something you need to verify. And obviously not everything's perfect right now, but just the ability to turn around information is so different. That junior client manager, I'll say this, that was a lot of my role was listening to sales calls, working with the client managers and updating Salesforce on behalf of them. I would sit in this woman's office, another individual, 4:00 every Friday, and we would go through, I would print out her pipeline in Salesforce. And we would go line by line. Oh, that close date needs to move. Yeah, we were both on this call. These should be the next steps that I need to update. That's all updated now with just voice recording. That job does not exist anymore. So I think it's such an interesting dynamic that how do individuals build a career when the dirty work that used to be behind the scenes that you needed to understand in order to value, the high level information that you need to get out of it is now done by AI or any other technology, or just like a cold calling technology that you don't actually need to type in the numbers. It's just a big dialer. Like that did not exist.
So does enabling that type of work, moving more technically, does that appeal to you from the way that you like to approach the job?
It does, but because I enjoy wow, this is amazing, but it takes the people out of it. And I'm such a people person that I do enjoy working with people and understanding where process meets automation and where that people fit in, right? Nothing's ever perfect. So figuring that out, I think, is.
Has it changed the way that you think about the candidates that, I mean, not for your existing company, but maybe just more like generally, like who's good to come into a revenue operations role? Is the person different from who you would have looked at years ago versus what you think about for that persona today?
I think the talent profile of any role has changed so drastically.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent profile of an individual, getting back to the example I just used, 15 years ago was like, you need to know the market. Well, do you need to know the market anymore? Because AI can fit that, at least get you through the first two conversations of a cold call, potentially, if you're selling, whatever type of tool. I think it's changed the talent profile that is in any job, my job, and anything, what you're looking for. So it's a really interesting point in time where the skill sets of yesterday's job description are not the skill sets of tomorrow's.
Absolutely. All right, I'm moving into a few. These are more kind of just fun closers. They tend to slightly corny, so just bear with me on these ones. All right. So, what is something that you're unusually good at now that your younger self would not have predicted?
Wow, usually good at. The thing that comes to mind because I'm looking at my desk, I have a Rubik's Cube and I can do a Rubik's Cube, and that was just memorizing. That was another you just got to memorize the pattern type situation, and I find that entertaining. And that thing used to look,
Wait, let me hear that story. How do you decide to become good at the Rubik's Cube? What is the process to do it? How long does it take?
I'm not an expert. It was probably junior or senior year of high school. Me and a couple of buddies just decided on the swim team that was going to be the thing that we did, and we're going to figure it out. And like we printed out the algorithms and this. I can get through it in about like 3 to 4 minutes. So, but yeah, definitely younger. I don't know. So now everyone's got a fidget something right at their desk that they just play with, and yeah, you have a screwdriver.
So my kids come in here and they just hand me stuff, and sometimes you have young kids, you kind of just like have to not let them have it anymore.
Yeah.
You don't always have time to go put it somewhere perfect. So I got a kid's spoon that I find myself, I put this in my
Playing
mouth
with.
sometimes. It's not a good look. And then I have this screwdriver and a children's flashlight. So I kind
There you go.
of work with these during the day. It's very
So
professional.
I cleared out my desk from my kids' randomness, but yeah, I got this pyramid one that I have not exactly figured out. That was the next challenge that I gave myself about like 2 months ago. That was the impulse buy on Amazon for
That's an excellent answer to that question. Okay, now what is something that you believe now because work taught you the hard way?
No one's gonna stand up for yourself other than yourself. I have been very fortunate that I have a lot of leaders around me that have enabled me to become who I am today and have given me opportunities. So saying that a little bit differently, however, nothing's going to come easy. Maybe is my new mantra here. You got to work hard. You got to put the time in. You got to find the value that you bring that nobody else does, and find your niche. And if you don't find that, then look for something else, right? So yeah, I think that's what I've learned.
No shortcuts, intentionality.
Yeah.
All right, if you were talking to someone who's 10 years behind you, maybe they're kind of starting in the world of RevOps, and they say, Dan, I want to get to VP of a significant RevOps org like you. What would you tell them?
Get good with Excel. As much as I think AI simplifies some of the more spoken word aspects of a job, manipulating data and knowing what insights are and how to get that information, I still think is so critical. And again, like there's obviously Copilot that sits over Excel and can help with some easy algorithms and this, that, and the other. But knowing what to look for in that data set, that is still going to be a skill.
100%.
Because you still need to prompt it with the right questions to say, what is this data telling me about X? And what do I need to do to get to Y? So, and just being able to, if you can't figure out how to back into that number yourself, every business runs off numbers. Get to know numbers.
Love that. All right. Last question. What is something outside of work that you find yourself recommending to people? Now, this could be, these are often podcasts, TV shows, they could be activities, they could be something that you do in your life that you think is just good, and you find yourself telling to your friends, telling to colleagues, hey, give this a try.
I guess there's definitely two right now. One is the LinkedIn games. Kevin, I don't know if you play, but
games? No, I've never played
games every morning, and then I play the New York Times games that are on the phone too. But they're like less than a minute. And the interesting aspect about the LinkedIn, I'm giving LinkedIn promo right now. You play against everyone else that's also playing, so you're able to see all your connections, how they're playing, who's ranking, and who's winning this game. So I find myself legitimately was texting my brother this morning about how he beat me in this one game. So I got him to be like, you should play this. This is entertaining. And it's literally, there's like 4 or 5 games of LinkedIn games. And so it only takes you 5 minutes. I'm not ignoring my kids that long, but to knock these out. And so, yeah, it's really quick stuff. So that's one. And then 2, I've gotten back into swimming and going to the gym and just trying to just move. I found it's very easy to just sit in this seat all day, every day and do nothing but work. You have to move. You have to get out of your seat. And so I found myself just going in the morning, going to the gym, swimming. It's just, I can go back and forth. And that's how I zone out. And I bought these headphones that I listen to music to. So it's perfect balance of everything.
Dan, I could listen to you talk about RevOps and your career and swimming. I'm a big swimmer as well for hours, but we got to let you go. Thank you so much for doing this. We would love to talk to you again soon.
Appreciate it, Kevin.